Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through the noise and get you up to speed on the tech that, well, really matters, fast.
Yeah.
You want to understand the big stories, right? Without getting totally lost in the details. And that's exactly what we're going to do today.
Right. Think of it as your shortcut. We've got some genuinely groundbreaking stuff, some baffling new gadgets, maybe,
Exactly.
a bit of a nostalgic comeback story happening on social media, and, the big ongoing cliffhanger, TikTok's future in the U.S.
Absolutely. So we'll dig into the Fujifilm GFX100 RF. It's got those cool old school film vibes. Then there's Huawei's
Yeah.
uniquely perplexing backwards folding phone.
Oh, yeah, that one.
A new mixed reality headset from Vivo that looks kind of familiar. And even a small but thoughtful update to the AirPods Max.
Mm-hmm.
Then, yeah, we got to figure out why this specific, pretty recent Canon camera is suddenly the thing on TikTok.
The G7X Mark III mystery.
Exactly. And finally, the really high-stakes poker game around TikTok, including, get this, a surprise player throwing their hat in the ring.
And along the way, we'll sprinkle in some other interesting bits, right? Like the EU pushing Apple with the Digital Markets Act.
Oh, yeah, the DMA stuff.
Rumors about 8K video on a future iPhone. Is that even useful? And the completely unexpected viral fame of the Saratoga water guy.
Right. It's quite a mix. But we're here to connect the dots, pull out what's actually important.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's dive in, starting with the new tech. First up, the Fujifilm GFX100 RF camera. This feels like Fujifilm making a very deliberate statement.
It really does. It's like they're leaning hard into their photo history. You've got this massive 100-megapixel medium format sensor. Yeah, think like a much bigger canvas for light, incredible detail, richer images. But it's paired with a fixed wide lens, no zoom.
Right. It's not about versatility in that sense. It's more intentional. And it's got that cool aspect ratio dial mimicking old film formats like 645, 6x7.
Such a neat touch.
Yeah, no super wide 6x24, unfortunately, but still great for anyone who likes shooting film. It's like saying, hey, slow down, compose your shot.
Exactly. The target seems to be, well, photographers who like that thoughtful process, maybe coming from film, looking at digital the same way, and street photographers too, right? Shoot wide, crop later, you've got tons of resolution.
And the price, around $4,900, which, surprisingly, makes it Fujifilm's most affordable medium format digital. Actually, one of the cheapest new medium format options, period.
It's almost like democratizing that sensor size, isn't it?
Kinda, yeah.
If you look around, the only other fixed lens digital camera with a sensor that big, full frame or larger is the Leica Q3.
Which costs way more.
Way more. So Fujifilm's carving out this unique little niche.
Okay, but here's the interesting part, maybe the controversial part. People are talking about the lack of IBIS in-body image stabilization. That thing that moves the sensor to fight blur. And it only has a 4 lens. Some see those as, big limitations for the price.
That's a totally valid point. Usually at this price, you'd expect IBIS, especially for low light. And the f4 isn't super fast, means you might need to crank the ISO.
So did they misjudge their audience, or is there something else?
Well, there's this key bit of context. Apparently, Fujifilm said going for a slightly faster f3.5 lens would have needed a lens mount so big it would have, overwhelmed the camera body.
Oh, okay.
So it sounds like a design compromise. Physical limit.
Interesting trade-off.
Yeah.
Size versus speed. Speaking of Fuji, they're also teasing this Eterna box camera for cinema folks. It has dual native ISO.
Yeah, that's clever tech. Cleaner footage and more lighting situations without adding noise.
Right, so it's a bit weird that the GFX100 RF, which uses the same sensor, doesn't have it. Feels like a missed chance to boost its low-light chops.
It does kind of highlight that even with the same core tech, products get different priorities. The Eterna is clearly for video pros.
Totally. Oh, and just for fun, someone suggested a comparison video. GFX100 RF versus the iPhone 16 Pro Max.
Oh, wow.
That's going to spark some
Yeah.
lively debate online.
For sure. Smartphone versus dedicated camera. How good is computational photography against a huge medium format sensor? That'd be fascinating, actually.
All right, let's shift gears dramatically to something uniquely designed. The Huawei Per X phone. You had a memorable analogy for this.
Yeah. The cat dog or ham dog.
Okay, explain. Because it sounds unconventional.
So, normal foldables open like a book.
Yep.
And flip phones fold vertically.
Right.
This thing tries to be both. Imagine a closed flip phone. Now turn it 90 degrees, hinge on the left like a book.
Okay.
You unfold it, but then you have to rotate the whole thing another 90 degrees to use it normally. Portrait mode. Turns into a tall tablet. It's a whole 2-stage rotation thing.
That sounds needlessly complicated.
It really does. For just checking a message or taking a quick photo, seems awkward. And yeah, probably not coming to the US anytime soon.
What do you think the reasoning is, though? I mean, even if it's not for us, are they hitting some tech hurdle? Or is there some niche in China, maybe?
Could be. It's definitely an engineering feat, you know? But the real-world benefit for the average person, not immediately obvious.
And taking pictures. If it's closed like a flip phone, seems like shooting anything but yourself would be weird.
Exactly. When it's closed, the camera's face outwards seems optimized for selfies or maybe video calls when it's unfolded. Taking a quick shot of something in front of you needs that whole unfold and rotate maneuver.
Huh. Now, it also has something called Harmony Intelligence. What's that?
Right, their AI assistant, powered by their in-house Pangu model, which is a type of advanced AI, but get this, enhanced by DeepSeek.
Okay.
The phrasing is a bit weird, right? If it's your in-house model, why emphasize it's enhanced by someone else? It's like saying your secret family recipe is great because of the store-bought spice mix you added.
Ah, yeah, it's like either brag about your own thing or highlight the partnership.
Yeah.
Doing both feels like maybe it's not that in-house.
Precisely. Makes you wonder how much is truly their own work versus leveraging other AI models.
Okay, moving on. Mixed reality. Vivo showed off a prototype headset in China, the Vivo Vision. Still very much in the maybe someday category.
Definitely prototype stage. They're maybe aiming for mid-2025, but, you know, tech timelines always take with a grain of salt.
What'd you think of the design? Anything familiar?
Yeah. Unfortunately, the head strap looks a lot like the band on the Apple Vision Pro.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, and given the kind of mixed reviews on the Vision Pro's comfort and weight, that similarity isn't exactly a great first impression, ergonomically speaking.
Not the best look.
Yeah.
But timing-wise, mid-2025 could line up with Google pushing its Android XR platform, right? Their software for VR and AR.
It could, yeah. If Google's serious about Android XR, it makes sense for big Android players like Vivo to have hardware ready. So even if the design isn't wowing anyone yet, the timing might be strategically sound.
Okay, last one in this batch. USB-C AirPods Max. An update people have wanted.
Absolutely. The big news is lossless audio support via the USB-C cable.
Only when wired, though.
Only when wired. Crucial detail. Wireless still isn't lossless. Probably a Bluetooth bandwidth limitation, right?
So most AirPods Max out there, the Lightning ones, get no benefit from this.
Correct. This is for the niche user who wants lossless and is willing to plug in.
They're also saying reduced latency, which is good for wired use. And they brought back wired playback through USB-C. I remember that was weirdly missing at launch.
It was strange for premium headphones. Good they added that flexibility back. Should have been there from the start, arguably.
What surprised me, though, is Apple didn't announce, like, a whole new hardware version, just the port change.
Yeah.
Suggests they're pretty happy with the current design.
Seems like it. This feels more like a connectivity refresh, not a big overhaul. Like the current hardware is sticking around for a while.
All right, now for something truly baffling. The Canon G7X Mark III mystery. This 2019 camera is suddenly huge on TikTok.
It's wild, isn't it? A 5-year-old point and shoot, suddenly everywhere. Influencers using it for flash photos. It's become a whole aesthetic.
And it's actually selling out. People are waiting for restocks like it's a hot new release. What is going on?
That's the big question. I mean, there is this general nostalgia trend for old digital cameras, right? Like those Nikon Coolpix models making a comeback.
Yeah, the Y2K aesthetic thing.
But why this camera? The G7X Mark III isn't that old. It wasn't cheap, like $800 originally. And it wasn't particularly groundbreaking.
Exactly. The nostalgia for, like, crappy pre-Instagram photos makes sense for cameras from the early 2000s, you know, low-res, weird digital artifacts. But 2019, that doesn't really fit. And the prices now on eBay are crazy. You could buy a much better camera for that money.
That's the thing. Objectively, there are more capable cameras available for what people are paying used. This isn't about image quality or features.
We're kicking around theories. Maybe the Sony RX100 series is just too confusing. There are like a million versions. Maybe people just want the simpler Canon.
That's plausible. Sony's lineup is overwhelming. The G7X Mark III is comparatively straightforward. Less choice, maybe less intimidating.
But still, that pre-internet digital camera vibe, 2019 just doesn't feel right for that specific nostalgia.
You're right. It doesn't quite hit that lo-fi digital sweet spot. But something about this specific camera is clicking with a huge audience on TikTok.
It's amazing. Someone posted an unboxing video of this 5-year-old camera. Got nearly 1 million likes.
Wow.
For a relatively recent, kind of normal camera. That's nuts.
Truly a fascinating case study. I heard The Verge is actually digging into this, trying to figure it out.
Okay, let's pivot from unexpected camera trends to something much bigger, more consequential. The TikTok situation in the U.S. The clock is seriously ticking now.
It really is. Quick recap. TikTok, owned by ByteDance, a Chinese company. U.S. government has national security concerns, mainly potential Chinese government access to user data or influence.
Which led to Congress passing that law, PFACA, back in 2024. Basically said ByteDance has to sell TikTok's U.S. operations to an American company by January 19th, 2025, or face a ban. They challenged it legally, but didn't succeed.
Right, and we almost saw a ban earlier this year, remember? It was pulled from app stores briefly. But then President Trump came back into office in 2025, issued a 75-day executive order, pushed the deadline to April 5th, gave everyone a bit more time to make a deal.
And the core concern, just to be clear, is that user data browsing habits, location, maybe even biometric data could potentially be shared with the Chinese government. TikTok denies this flat out, says they'd never do it. And there's no public proof it's happened.
But the U.S. government's goal remains: get TikTok's U.S. side under American ownership. And now, kind of out of nowhere, Amazon has apparently jumped in as a potential bidder. And not just for the U.S. part, but for all of TikTok, globally.
That was definitely a surprise.
Yeah.
Amazon, the e-commerce giant, apparently sent a formal offer letter to VP Vance and Commerce Secretary Lutnick.
Yeah.
But the reaction from others involved in the talks seems kind of skeptical.
Yeah, that's the word, skeptical. Despite Amazon's size and deep pockets, insiders don't seem to be taking their bid super seriously. And ByteDance reportedly isn't giving it much thought either, at least not yet. It's unclear if any real talks are even happening there.
Amazon typically isn't commenting. But why would they even want TikTok? What's the strategy?
Well, there are a few pretty compelling reasons. TikTok drives huge consumer trends, right? The shop feature, viral product videos, often linking straight to Amazon.
True.
Amazon even tried their own TikTok clone, Inspire, but shut it down recently. Buying TikTok would instantly give them a massive, super engaged social media platform, plus direct insight into all those shopping trends. So even if the bid seems like a long shot now, the strategic logic for Amazon makes a lot of sense.
Okay, so maybe not totally out of left field strategically,
Right.
even if the bid itself is surprising. But they're not the only ones interested, right?
Not by a long shot. Oracle's been hanging around this whole time. They almost had a deal in 2020. Larry Ellison even talked about a 50% stake. And they already work with TikTok on data security with Project Texas, so maybe the U.S. government likes them better.
Then there's Microsoft. They tried with Walmart back in 2020. That bid failed. But apparently they're interested again. And Walmart might still be involved, for the e-commerce angle.
Plus, you've got private equity firms like Blackstone, investors like Kevin O'Leary, even Mr. Beast apparently put together an investor group. Shows how valuable everyone thinks it is. And Bobby Kotick, the ex-Activision CEO, his name's been thrown around too.
And some even weirder ones. Former Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Rumble, the video platform, even Perplexity AI. Though that last one seems unlikely.
It just shows the sheer level of interest, right? Over 100 million U.S. users, massive cultural impact. The White House has supposedly been talking to multiple serious buyers all along.
But we can't forget ByteDance's side. They've consistently said they don't want to sell. They fought the law in court.
That's crucial. ByteDance publicly says no sale, partly because the Chinese government is against it too. They see TikTok's algorithm as sensitive tech, put expert controls on it, could block transferring the algorithm to a U.S. buyer. Remember back in 2020, China apparently preferred a U.S. shutdown over a forced sale.
So even with all this pressure, TikTok's trying to act like it's business as usual. They just hired a new head of global communications. But there are still huge hurdles for any sale.
Massive hurdles. You need ByteDance to agree. You need the U.S. government to approve. And, critically, you need the Chinese government to approve. That last one's a major wild card.
People are talking crazy numbers for valuation. Just the U.S. part could be $60 billion, global value up to $300 billion. That would be the biggest tech deal ever.
Easily. And if Amazon did somehow pull it off, it would instantly make them a social media giant, tied into their shopping empire. But a deal that big would definitely get intense regulatory scrutiny, no question.
So yeah, as we hurtle towards April 5th, TikTok's future in the U.S. is still completely up in the air. Will Amazon make a real play? Will someone else win? Or does it actually get banned? High stakes all around.
huge stakes. Big implications for social media, e-commerce, even U.S.-China relations overall.
Okay, let's weave in those other interesting tech stories we mentioned. First, the EU's Digital Markets Act, the DMA. This looks like it could force some pretty big changes on Apple's iOS ecosystem.
Right.
What's the main goal there?
What's really interesting is how direct the EU is being, tackling what they see as Apple's anti-competitive walled garden. They've listed 9 specific areas where iOS supposedly has to open up more to third parties. It's all about boosting competition, giving consumers more choice.
Okay, lay out those 9 areas. Some sound like they could really change how things work.
Totally. They want better access to iOS notifications for non-Apple smartwatches, allowing custom actions from third-party devs, opening up high-bandwidth peer-to-peer Wi-Fi, maybe making direct device connections smoother, like on other platforms.
That all sounds useful for making different brands work together better. What else?
Mandating proximity-triggered pairing, so all Bluetooth earbuds could potentially have that seamless setup, not just AirPods. Allowing background execution for third-party apps that could really boost what other smartwatches and devices can do, and making close-range wireless file transfer work just as well as AirDrop using the same tech. That'd be huge for sharing files cross-platform.
Finally, no more emailing photos to myself. What are the last few?
Automatic Wi-Fi connection on third-party devices, making casting solutions like AirPlay available across different platforms. Automatic audio switching for third-party headphones like AirPods do. And maybe the biggest one, opening up the iPhone's NFC chip for read-write beyond just Apple Pay. Could really open up contactless payments and stuff.
That is a serious list.
Yeah.
What's your take? Is this good for competition? Or could it miss with innovation somehow?
It's tricky, right? On one hand, yeah, it tries to level the playing field, give users more choice, fight that lock-in feeling. But there's also the argument that forcing companies to do things a certain way could stifle innovation, make everyone's features kind of the same. It's a tough balance. Promote competition, but still let companies innovate and stand out.
Definitely makes you wonder how Apple will stand out if some of those ecosystem advantages have to be shared.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll have to focus even more on core performance design. Maybe even, dare I say, better pricing on some things.
That's the core challenge, isn't it? When the platform owner also sells all the accessories, they have a built-in edge. These rules try to make it more about the individual product's merits, less just about being part of the Apple bubble.
Okay, switching again. Rumor. iPhone 17 Pro might get 8K video recording. Initial thoughts.
My first thought, can most people even tell the difference on their current screens? 8K is technically impressive, sure, but the jump from 4K on a phone screen, or even most TVs, it often feels like diminishing returns for the average person.
And the storage space, especially if they offered 8K ProRes, that Pro Video format. Those files are already massive in 4K.
Exactly. You'd need like a terabyte iPhone just to store a decent amount of 8K footage. And would Apple even allow 8K ProRes because of that? Maybe they'd limit 8K to a more compressed format. And then is compressed 8K really that much better than really good 4K? Seems like potential hype for maybe not much real-world benefit for most users.
Yeah, interesting point. Okay, finally, we have to mention the Saratoga water guy. That came out of nowhere.
Totally random. Ashton Hall's super stylized, kind of over-the-top morning routine videos, always featuring Saratoga spring water, waking up at crazy hours, elaborate rituals, and always that blue bottle.
And the wild part, Saratoga spring water's stock price actually went up.
Yeah.
Because of these viral videos.
Yeah.
Shows the power of online stuff hitting the real world.
It's a perfect example. Random internet trend translates to actual market impact. And people are debating, was it parody all along, clever marketing, or did it just hit a nerve because it was so extra? Whatever it was, it got attention, and Saratoga's definitely benefiting.
Makes you wonder how long these things last, though.
Yeah.
Will everyone still be buying Saratoga water next month? Probably not.
Yeah.
But for now, yeah, fascinating case study in weird internet virality.
Exactly. A snapshot of internet culture. Gone tomorrow, probably, but memorable.
So wrapping up this deep dive, we covered a lot. New cameras, weird phones, potential mixed reality, audio updates.
The Canon mystery, the huge TikTok drama.
Right, and we touched on those bigger forces too. EU regulations, the AI hype cycle, random viral moments.
Our goal was just to give you the key info, the important bits, without getting bogged down in too much tech jargon or speculation.
Exactly. So as you think about all this, here's a final thought to chew on. With AI getting integrated into everything, how might that change our relationship with technology itself? And what does it mean for things like creativity, originality? Something to ponder as AI keeps racing ahead.
Definitely. The tech world keeps changing constantly. Innovation, market shifts, regulations. Staying informed and thinking about the bigger picture is key to navigating